Alright, picture this. Memorial Day weekend, sun's out, grill's hot, and I'm out here playing suburban Gordon Ramsay with a spatula in one hand and a beer in the other. 20 people at my place, half from Kiara's high-profile event planning circle. Read, people who talk about KPIs over cocktails, and my crew from the job site. The contrast was cinematic. Kiara's in full PR mode, floating around like she's hosting a gala at the Ritz instead of a backyard barbecue. I'm flipping burgers, sweating through my shirt, and she's out there taking compliments like she marinated the steaks herself. Oh, thank you. Yes, I do believe presentation is everything. Presentation, sure. Because apparently the secret to a good burger is wearing heels and holding a mimosa. At one point, I overhear her friend, Tiffany, I think the one who wears sunglasses indoors, say, "Kiara, this is so authentic. Like you can really feel the working class vibe." Kiara laughs. Right? Noah loves this kind of stuff. Yeah, I love it. Nothing like being treated like the help at my own cookout. I kept my cool though. Smiled, served, kept the drinks coming. My guys were having a blast. Sam, of course, was there too, because why wouldn't my brother be front and center? He's over by the cooler charming the suits, dropping buzzwords like synergy and growth potential. I swear if you'd handed him a whiteboard, he'd have started a TED Talk right there next to the potato salad. After a while, I'm inside stacking plates, and through the open patio door, I hear Kiara's voice. Noah is great, she's saying. But he's very settled. Settled. Like a cup of cold coffee. I pause mid-wipe, just standing there holding a stack of greasy paper plates, listening. He's found his groove, she continues like she's reading my eulogy, and he's comfortable staying there. Someone asks, is that a problem? Not a problem exactly, she says, drawing it out like she's choosing words for a magazine interview. Just different mindsets about life. Some people are satisfied with steady income and some people want to build something bigger. Oh, absolutely. Because heaven forbid I enjoy running a successful business, paying my mortgage, and not having daily mental breakdowns over quarterly projections. My bad for not having a 5-year plan that involves a yacht and emotional bankruptcy. She laughs softly after that, the kind of laugh that sounds polished, like it's been rehearsed for Instagram stories. Her friends murmur approvingly, sipping their wine and nodding like she's just dropped a TED Talk of her own. The tone wasn't mean. It was worse. It wasn't mean, it was dismissive. That special tone people use when they're not insulting you exactly, just filing you neatly into the pleasant but unremarkable section of their mental Rolodex. I love him, Kiara continued, voice all soft and performative, like she was narrating a rom-com trailer. But sometimes I wonder what it would be like to be with someone who really challenges himself, someone with a bigger vision for the future. Oh, fantastic. Nothing like hearing your fiancé publicly daydream about your hypothetical replacement while you're still scraping burger grease off paper plates. That night, after everyone left and the backyard looked like a confetti bomb of Solo cups and napkins, I called her out. I heard what you said about me being settled, I said, keeping my voice calm but definitely not neutral. She blinked at me like I'd just told her the moon landing was fake. What? You were listening? Yeah, I said. Kind of hard not to when my character arc is being discussed 5 feet from the potato salad. She laughed nervously, brushing it off. Come on, I wasn't being negative. You are settled, with yourself, your business, your life. That's not necessarily bad. Right? I said. Except you said it like I was a guy who peaked at winning Employee of the Month at Applebee's. She sighed. Noah, I'm not saying you're settling. I love you. I just think you could push yourself more, if you wanted to. Push myself toward what? I asked. And there it was, silence. You could practically hear her buffering. She had no answer. Because what she really wanted, apparently, was already dropping by every Friday and feeding her fantasies about strategic business growth. Summer hit and Kiara's business exploded. Bigger contracts, longer hours, constant stress. Every evening she came home like a walking energy drink that had run out of caffeine halfway through the day. The Hale account wants to change their entire corporate retreat theme 3 weeks out, she'd rant, dropping her purse like it had personally betrayed her. Do they think I can just snap my fingers and redesign everything? I'd nod supportively. That's rough, babe. Sounds like they're being unreasonable. Exactly. It's exhausting managing everyone's expectations. Of course, this heartfelt venting always found its way to an encore performance featuring my job as the comic relief. At least electrical work is straightforward, she'd say, swirling her wine. Wire goes here, switch goes there. My job requires constant creativity and client management. Right. Because I definitely never dealt with entitled homeowners who changed their minds halfway through a rewiring job, or contractors who blamed me for their scheduling mess-ups. But sure, I'm basically a caveman with pliers. Then Sam started showing up more. Supposedly to hang with both of us, but somehow, both kept turning into just Kiera. He'd drop by when I was still at work, stay for coffee, and leave just as I pulled into the driveway. At dinner, Kiera would give me little business updates like she was CNBC. Sam's expanding into commercial refrigeration, she announced one night, eyes shining. He's already talked to 3 potential partners about joint ventures. Good for him, I said, chewing. He's really looking at market opportunities and building relationships. It's impressive how he approaches growth. The way she said growth had more sparkle than our engagement ring. Her whole tone changed, bright, inspired, borderline evangelical. When she talked about my business, it was all, so, busy week? But with Sam? Vision. Expansion. Synergy. Around that time, Kiera launched what I can only describe as her NOAA 2.0 improvement campaign. Maybe you should hire a marketing consultant, she said one night. Maybe you should look into commercial work instead of residential, another. Maybe you should join professional organizations, network more aggressively. Sam's making connections that are really paying off. Maybe I should, I said, smiling. And maybe you should stop acting like LinkedIn came to life and moved into our kitchen. She frowned. I'm just saying you could learn from his approach to building relationships. Never mind that my residential focus was intentional. I liked working with homeowners, doing custom jobs, making solid money without getting ulcers from corporate bidding wars. But Kiera saw contentment as weakness. I'm not saying change everything, she'd clarify when I pushed back. Just think bigger. You're capable of so much more. That became her catchphrase. Like a motivational poster that refused to shut up. The final straw came one Friday night in late June. We were supposed to have dinner together, something normal for once. Around 5 p.m. she called. Babe, I'm so sorry. Client emergency. Some venue's sound system is malfunctioning and I need to coordinate repairs for a weekend event. This could take hours. I told her it was fine. Things happen. Ordered takeout, cracked open a beer, planned to catch up on invoices, thrilling Friday stuff. Then at 8 p.m. my buddy James texted. Dude, just saw Kiera and Sam at Romano's. Thought you were working late or something. Romano's. The fancy Italian place downtown, Kiera's favorite business dinner spot. 20 minutes from the venue where she was supposedly managing a catastrophic audio crisis. I stared at that text for 5 solid minutes. Either James was blind, or my fiancé was pulling the old client emergency, move straight from the corporate infidelity playbook. When she got home around 11, she had stories ready. The sound technician finally got it working, she said, kicking off her heels. But it took forever to diagnose the problem. What was wrong with it? I asked casually. Oh, some kind of connection issue, she said, waving her hand. Very technical stuff. Beyond what I'd understand. Sure. Connection issues. That checked out. I didn't confront her that night, but I started paying closer attention. The little inconsistencies. Sam's casual mentions of bumping into her around town. 2 weeks later, same script, different day. She had a vendor meeting Thursday afternoon that ran late. Sam just happened to grab lunch downtown that same Thursday. Small world, he said. We ended up sharing a table since the place was packed. Well, small world indeed. Twice in a month small. I started keeping mental notes. Nothing crazy, just awareness. The normal level of paranoia when your fiancé's business mentor keeps orbiting your relationship. Then came July 4th weekend. She said she had to work Saturday. Emergency with a wedding venue's lighting system, she said seriously. The bride's family is threatening to sue if everything isn't perfect by Sunday's ceremony. I offered to help. Lighting systems are literally my specialty. That's my whole thing. If there were a superhero movie about electricians, I'd be the guy with the glowing gloves and OSHA-proof cape. Thanks, but the venue has their own people, Kiera said, in that breezy tone she reserved for declining help from people who actually knew what they were doing. You should enjoy your day off. Right. Because nothing says day off like being benched from your own area of expertise while your fiancé heroically supervises a lighting emergency she can't spell. Fair enough. I spent Saturday doing what any sane man would do when his life is slowly turning into a bad sitcom. I detailed my truck within an inch of its life. Then I reorganized my project folders, updated schedules, and generally pretended productivity could drown out suspicion. Around 3 p.m., I realized I needed a specific breaker for Monday's job. The supply house was closed for the holiday, but I remembered seeing the exact one I needed at Sam's shop earlier in the week. His business sits in an industrial park south of town, the kind of area where even Google Maps asks if you're sure you want to go there. Definitely not on the way to any wedding venue. So I drove down, pulled into the lot. And there it was, Kiara's pristine white Audi, tucked behind the building like it was hiding from a crime scene photographer. Parked in the employee lot, behind Sam's office, far from any street view. I sat in my truck, engine running, just processing. My fiancée, the queen of curated authenticity, was supposedly handling a lighting crisis across town. But her car was having a covert rendezvous behind my best friend's HVAC shop. The lighting emergency, it seemed, was happening in Sam's office. What an absolute coincidence. Must have been a real spark between them. Now I could have gone full action movie hero, stormed in, dramatic music, tools of justice in hand. But instead I channeled my inner accountant. Pulled out my phone, took photos. Clear timestamps, GPS coordinates, the whole CSI package. Then I calmly drove home to think, which, for the record, took every ounce of willpower I had not to swing by with a sledgehammer labeled wiring problem. That evening, Kiara came back, perfectly composed, smelling like vanilla and audacity. Crazy day, she sighed. The lighting system was a total nightmare. The electrician you called figured it out? I asked casually, trying not to bite through my cheek. Yeah, she said, slipping off her heels. Took most of the afternoon, but we got everything working perfectly. I leaned against the counter. What was the actual issue? Oh, some kind of wiring problem, she said vaguely, waving her hand like she was swatting away accountability. Really technical stuff. Right, I said. Very technical. Probably required an advanced degree in SAM studies. Here's the thing about betrayal. Once you suspect it, suddenly everything looks suspicious. Conversations that used to sound normal start feeling like riddles. Schedule conflicts that once seemed random now look choreographed. It's like someone handed you the director's cut of your own relationship, and suddenly every small world coincidence has ominous background music. So, I did what any responsible, emotionally stable person would do. I documented everything. Over the next month, I became part electrician, part private investigator. I didn't change my behavior. No dramatic accusations or movie-style confrontations. I just took notes. Time, place, story, inconsistencies. The whole thing started looking less like a few bad choices, and more like a corporate merger of deceit. Turns out they'd been at it for months. The business consultations, the lunch coincidences, the weekend emergencies, all cover stories for whatever light fixtures they were installing in secret. The cheating hurt, sure. But what really burned was the disrespect. They thought I was too dumb, too trusting, too busy playing handyman to notice. Like I was the lovable side character in the romantic subplot of their success story. I could have confronted them. But instead, I decided to let them believe they were getting away with it. Sometimes the best revenge is patience. Letting your enemies think they're winning while you quietly sharpen the metaphorical screwdriver. Then August hit, and the universe decided to hand me poetic balance. My business exploded. Word spread about the smart home systems I'd been installing. Suddenly I was the guy. Booked through February with a waiting list forming for spring. I landed a massive $180,000 contract to do the full electrical design for a luxury hotel downtown. It was the kind of deal that makes your accountant smile in his sleep. Kiara noticed, of course. She hovered nearby one evening as I updated project schedules. You're working constantly now, she observed. Good problem to have, I said without looking up. This is how you build something lasting, I suppose, she said like she was narrating a TED Talk about hustle culture. Just seems like you're always focused on the next job instead of long-term planning. I raised an eyebrow. What do you mean? Market expansion, partnerships, scalability, she said, parroting Sam's business gospel word for word. Thinking beyond just taking whatever work comes in. Yes, the Church of Synergy and Growth Potential. Same sermon, different preacher. Meanwhile, their meetings were becoming bold enough to qualify as performance art. Kiara working late more often, always with plausible reasons. Sam stopping by for tools, or project ideas, that never materialized. If subtlety were a light switch, they'd broken it months ago. So, I started having casual conversations of my own, not about them, just about me. Called clients, networked with contractors, made sure everyone knew I was the reliable one. The guy who did clean work, showed up on time, didn't blow fuses or marriages. In the trades, reputation is currency, and I was investing early. Next step, protecting the business. I combed through every shared account and contact. Changed passwords, updated bank authorizations, secured databases, the works. If this relationship was heading for detonation, my livelihood was coming out unscathed. Then I went deeper, documented every piece of our shared life. Photos of her contributions to the house, receipts, vacations, even utility bills. No ambiguity, no loopholes. I wasn't just preparing for heartbreak, I was building a legal fortress with excellent lighting. Through all this, patterns became crystal clear. The affair wasn't just emotional, it was strategic. They weren't sneaking around for fun, they were building something. You could see it in their little glances, their shared jokes, the too familiar body language. They were planning a future, and I was apparently the temporary understudy. Then one morning in early August, Kiera looked up from her phone and said sweetly, "We should take a romantic weekend getaway. Just us. Somewhere beautiful to reconnect after this busy summer." "Oh," I said, smiling like an idiot who hadn't already solved the case. "We've both been so focused on work," she continued. "It'd be good to spend quality time together and really talk about where we're headed." I agreed enthusiastically, threw out suggestions about mountain towns, cozy lodges, great restaurants. She seemed delighted, completely unaware that I had already cracked her entire playbook. Because I knew exactly what that romantic weekend was meant for, and while she was planning her perfectly scripted breakup scene, I was planning my own approach. Oh, if Kiera and Sam thought they were playing chess, I was already 5 moves ahead, Queen's Gambit style, except with more passive-aggressive smirks and less eyeliner. If she wanted to control the narrative, fine. I'd let her think she was winning right up until the moment I dropped the kind of truth bomb that makes people reconsider their life choices and their Wi-Fi passwords. But first, reconnaissance. Every good operation needs intel. So, one lazy August evening, Sam strolled in like a man who didn't just borrow my tools but my peace of mind. "Hey, just returning those wire strippers," he said casually, handing them back like we were still best bros and he wasn't halfway to starring in the soap opera version of How to Steal Your Friend's Fiancé. Kiera was working late again, so it was just the two of us, 2 grown men drinking sodas on my deck, pretending one of us wasn't trying to ruin the other's life. "You and Kiera seem solid," he said suddenly. "Yeah, things are good," I replied, keeping my tone neutral. "Why do you ask?" "Oh, just wondering," he said, swirling his soda like it was fine whiskey. "You guys ever talk about marriage?" That one hit like a stray voltage. "Seriously?" I said, raising an eyebrow. Interesting question from someone who's supposed to be my friend. He smiled, that smug little tilt that said he thought he was being subtle. "Just curious. She seems like the type who'd want the whole traditional wedding thing." "Yeah," I said slowly. "We've discussed it. Probably sometime in the next year or 2. "That's cool," he said, nodding like a guy pretending not to already have the Pinterest board for his wedding with my fiancée. "You thinking about settling down anytime soon?" "Maybe," I said. "If I found the right person. Someone who really understands the business side of things, you know. That's important." He perked up instantly like a dog hearing the treat bag crinkle. "Exactly. Like, you're happy with your business the way it is, which is great, but some people need partners who are always pushing for more." There it was. The coded language of betrayal. Translation: Kiera says you're boring and I agree. We talked for another hour, mostly him trying to sound like a motivational speaker while I nodded along, cataloging every word like I was prepping evidence for a courtroom drama. When he finally left, I knew 2 things. They weren't just fooling around. They were planning a future together. Apparently, they were the self-declared power couple of Colorado Springs, ambitious, visionary, and morally bankrupt. Fine. Let's play. Labor Day weekend rolled around, and right on cue, Kiera suggested that romantic getaway we'd been talking about for months. "Let's drive up to Aspen," she said sweetly. "Nice hotel, hiking, quality time, just us. No phones, no business calls, just reconnecting." How poetic. A farewell tour disguised as a love retreat. I agreed immediately. "Sounds perfect," I said, pretending to be excited about the romantic murder of our relationship. Friday night before the trip, guess who showed up? Sam, of course, carrying beer and bad intentions. "Just wanted to wish you guys a great trip," he said, acting like a supportive buddy instead of the human embodiment of a tax audit. We sat on the deck, making small talk about work and weekend plans. It felt like an awkward 3-person play called The Affair that everyone knows about but pretends they don't. "You guys have something really solid," Sam said suddenly, the words dripping with irony. Kiera smiled, taking my hand like she was auditioning for The Bachelor. "We do. This weekend will be perfect for reconnecting." "Sure, connecting all the dots of your deceit, maybe." After Sam left, she was oddly affectionate, snuggling, talking about restaurant reservations, hiking trails, the whole honeymoon preview. It was adorable in a this is clearly a breakup prep kind of way. That night, lying beside her while she slept, I realized this was probably our last night together as an engaged couple. Tomorrow she'd break it off, and by next week she'd be with Sam. 3 years of my life, gone faster than my Wi-Fi when it rains. But strangely, I didn't feel sad. I felt free. The pretending, the fake support, the "you're capable of so much more" pep talks, it was all about to end. Saturday morning we packed up the car and headed to the mountains. She was practically glowing, chatting about our itinerary, like this was the great love revival of 2025. We checked into some overpriced resort at noon, grabbed lunch downtown, strolled through galleries and overpriced gift shops. Classic breakup foreplay. Then came dinner. Expensive restaurant, candlelight, her dramatic sigh. Showtime. "Noah," she said softly over dessert, "I've been thinking about us." Oh, I said, half smiling. Always a dangerous sentence. She pushed on. "About what we both want from life and whether we're still headed in the same direction. Here we go." "I love you," she said, "and I know you love me, but I feel like we've grown apart this year. We want different things." I nodded gravely, pretending to be shocked. "Really? You don't say." "You're content with what you've built, and that's wonderful," she said. "But I need someone who shares my ambitions, who constantly wants to grow." "What exactly are you saying?" I asked, letting her have her big dramatic line. "I think we should break up. Call off the engagement." She reached for my hand, eyes full of faux sympathy. "I know it's hard to hear, but I think we both know we've grown in different directions." I took a deep breath, paused for effect, and said, "You know what? You're absolutely right." Her face lit up, pure relief. She hadn't expected me to agree so easily. "I'm glad you understand," she said. "I was worried you'd be angry or try to change my mind." "Angry? No," I said. "I appreciate your honesty. It's refreshing." We finished dessert in silence, her thinking she'd just executed the perfect, mature breakup, me thinking she had no idea how fast karma works when you've got Wi-Fi and a contact list. We went back to the hotel, shared one last night together like polite ex-co-workers of love, and drove home the next morning in calm silence. She moved out that afternoon, efficient as ever, one box, one speech. "I hope we can stay friends," she said cheerfully, loading her last box. "I'm sure we'll see each other around," I replied. Small town and all. The moment her car disappeared down the street, I popped open a cold drink, pulled out my phone and started dialing. Some people in Sam's little professional network deserve to know exactly what kind of strategic partnerships he'd been pursuing. 3 months later, boom, Kiera and Sam announced their engagement. A beautiful love story, the post said. Two ambitious souls finding each other after heartbreak. How inspiring. Their wedding? Valentine's Day. Because of course it was. At an expensive venue outside Denver, where hypocrisy apparently costs extra. Big production. 250 guests. A floral budget that could have paid off my truck loan twice over. Kiera's wedding was going to be the event of the season. The kind of thing small-town socialites post about for months. Hashtag grateful, hashtag love wins, hashtag totally not built on lies. Every vendor in a 100-mile radius was involved. Professional lighting, live music, champagne fountains, drone photography. If she could have hired NASA to project happily ever after onto the moon, she would have. Of course, I wasn't invited. Tragic oversight, really. But this is a small town. Contractor gossip travels faster than light. I didn't need an invitation when I had a front row seat to the slow-motion implosion of their lives via word of mouth. While those two had been busy filming their Hallmark betrayal special, I'd been doing something they'd forgotten how to do, networking like an adult. The electrical trade is a small circle. Once your reputation takes a hit, it spreads like a power surge through a cheap fuse box. And Sam's rapid business growth? Oh, it came with some delightful complications. Turns out, his secret formula for success was underbidding jobs, using discount bin materials, and then acting shocked when things caught fire, metaphorically and occasionally literally. Soon, complaints started buzzing around like flies at a picnic. Shoddy ductwork, cheap parts, mismatched equipment. Hail Electric and HVAC was quickly becoming Hail Mary and pray it works. I didn't spread gossip. I didn't have to. Bad work speaks louder than I ever could. And general contractors? They talk more than grandmas at bingo night. 2 weeks before the wedding, I got a call from Tom, one of the GCs who'd worked with Sam. "You know your ex-buddy Sam Hale?" he asked. "We're not close anymore," I said. "Why?" Good thing, Tom said. His HVAC work is turning into a full-blown disaster. The system he installed last month? Completely messed up. Wrong ductwork, mismatched equipment, and half the units aren't even connected properly. Whole job's got to be redone. That's rough, I said, trying not to sound too gleeful. Gets worse, Tom continued. He's got 3 more projects around town with the same problems. Word's getting around fast. No one's gonna hire him once this gets out. Tragic, I said deadpan. Can't imagine how that'll affect his upcoming wedding. Perfect timing. His business was tanking faster than a stock after a bad tweet, right as he and Kiara were about to start their luxury Pinterest marriage. But the universe wasn't done yet. Because while Sam's business was imploding, Kiara's was quietly catching fire too. She'd been so busy planning her perfect wedding that she'd forgotten she actually had clients. Apparently, brides don't appreciate when their event planner ghosted them to pick out her own floral arrangements. Deadlines? Missed emails? Ignored. Payments? Refunded. Her reputation for reliability was disintegrating faster than her hair extensions after too many stress-fueled nights. And then came the wedding. From what I heard, it was beautiful, perfect flowers, flawless decor, overpriced catering, everything Kiara had dreamed of since she was little. Until, of course, the speech. Sam, being the picture of class and self-restraint, decided to get drunk and make an impromptu toast. Always a solid idea. He stood up, glass in hand, and slurred, "I just want to say, I'm so grateful fate brought me and Kiara together. We've been through so much over the past year." He said, out loud, into a microphone, in front of 250 people. The problem? His timeline didn't exactly match the fairy tale they'd been telling everyone. He started reminiscing about late-night talks and bonding moments that, according to the math, happened when Kiara and I were still engaged. You could practically hear the mental calculators clicking in the audience. People glancing around, whispering, "Wait, wasn't she still with Noah back then?" By dessert, the room was a sea of raised eyebrows and awkward silence. By midnight, everyone knew the truth. My ex-fiancé and my former best friend had been starring in Affair, the musical, long before they'd officially fallen in love. Within a week, the gossip had spread through every social circle, contractor group, and event network in town. Kiara's professional credibility? Gone. Sam's reputation? Toasted. If he'd lied to his best friend, what would he do to a client? Their shiny new life together was collapsing under the weight of their own stupidity. And me? Oh, I was just getting warmed up. Fast forward 18 months. I'm sitting at an upscale steakhouse downtown with Paige, my girlfriend. Brilliant. Loyal. Zero tolerance for drama. She runs a physical therapy clinic and makes more money than most doctors. And unlike Kiara, she doesn't need a spotlight to breathe. We were halfway through dinner, celebrating my new $240,000 contract. Luxury hotel electrical design, thank you very much. When she appeared. Kiara. Like a ghost from the discount section of Christmas past. Hair greasy, makeup smeared, eyes twitching from what I could only assume was a diet of caffeine and regret. Her outfit looked like it had lost a fight with a clearance rack at Target. "Noah," she said breathlessly, "I need to talk to you." Paige raised an eyebrow, perfectly calm, fork still poised over her steak. "And you are?" "His ex-fiancée," Kiara said quickly. "Ah," Paige replied, taking a slow, deliberate sip of her drink. "The one who cheated. How interesting." Kiara's face turned the exact shade of overcooked lobster, but she pressed on. "Noah, please, just 5 minutes. I've been trying to reach you for months." I was halfway through my steak when I heard a voice that made my stomach drop faster than a bad elevator. "Noah?" I looked up and there she was. Kiara. Like some tragic sequel nobody asked for. She looked rough. Designer purse, sure, but the kind of tired that even luxury concealer can't fix. Paige raised an eyebrow, her wine glass hovering midair. Oh, this was about to get good. Kiara didn't waste time with small talk. "I've been busy," she said, voice trembling like a bad audition. "Building that empire you said I'd never be capable of." An empire? I thought. Sure, if she meant that Instagram page she started and abandoned after 3 posts about girl boss energy. Then she kept going. Everything fell apart. Sam left me for his secretary last month. I'm losing my apartment next week. Her tone was halfway between confessional and breakdown. I made the biggest mistake of my life. We were perfect together, Noah. We could be perfect again. Across the table, Paige was watching like she'd paid extra for front row seats. Swirling her wine, quiet smile, pure entertainment mode. I set my fork down. Kiera, you cheated on me for months with my best friend, lied to my face constantly, and manipulated our entire breakup to cover your tracks. What exactly makes you think I'd want you back? Kiera blinked, as if that part of history had been redacted from her memory. Because you loved me. We were engaged. That has to count for something. It counted, I said. Past tense. History. That's when she finally noticed Paige. Her eyes flicked from Paige's jewelry to her dress to, well, the general aura of doing better. And then, with all the grace of a reality TV meltdown, she spat, "By the way, who is this witch?" Paige's smile faded into something calm. The kind of calm that makes you check for exits. Excuse me? You heard me, Kiera snapped. How long have you been sleeping with my boyfriend? Paige actually laughed. Your boyfriend? Honey, your boyfriend is probably with his secretary right now while you're here begging. This is my boyfriend. You could practically hear the glass crack in Kiera's composure. You think you're better than me? You're just some gym rat who swooped in when I wasn't around. Paige set her glass down with surgical precision. Actually, I'm a doctor of physical therapy who owns a successful clinic. I swooped in when you were too stupid to appreciate what you had. Kiera turned to me, desperate now. Noah, are you seriously going to let this witch talk to me like that? She's defending herself, I said. Something I should have done more often when we were engaged. Her jaw tightened. You were never good enough for me anyway. I settled for you. You're just some contractor who thinks he's successful because he wires rich people's houses. Before I could respond, Paige leaned forward slightly, voice soft but lethal. And yet here you are, literally begging him to take you back. That seems embarrassing. Screw you. Kiera shouted. You don't know anything. A floor manager appeared like a summoned NPC. Folks, let's keep it respectful. If this continues, I'll have to ask you to take it outside. Language, Paige said sweetly. We're in a nice restaurant. Kiera spun back to me. Noah, you know me. She doesn't love you like I did. She's just using you until something better comes along. I sighed. That's exactly what you did to me. For Sam, who, by the way, turned out to be worse at running a business than he was at being a loyal friend. Her voice went full banshee. This is all your fault. You ruined everything. You sabotaged Sam's business. You turned people against us. Sam sabotaged himself, I said. He did terrible work and screwed over clients. I just happened to know the contractors who had to fix his mistakes. Paige was grinning now, the kind of grin that should come with popcorn. Let me get this straight, she said. You cheated on him, left him for his best friend, your husband's business failed because he was incompetent, and somehow that's Noah's fault? Kiera's glare could have melted steel. You don't know anything about our relationship. I know you betrayed someone who loved you, Paige said evenly, and then came crawling back when your life imploded. That tells me everything I need to know. Kiera lunged forward like she might actually go for Paige, but Paige didn't even flinch, just shifted slightly in her chair, cool as a glacier. You want to try something physical? She asked. Because I've seen your wedding photos on social media. You looked beautiful that day. Shame about your intoxicated husband announcing your affair timeline to 250 people. That one hit like a precision airstrike. Before things could escalate, another woman, Haley, one of Kiera's last remaining friends, appeared and grabbed her arm. Kiera, stop this right now. You're making a scene. Haley, tell them I'm not crazy. Tell them what really happened. Haley looked mortified. I'm so sorry, she said to us. She's been drinking since the divorce. Kiera, we're leaving now. No, I'm not done. Yes, you absolutely are, Haley said, physically dragging her toward the exit. Please enjoy your evening. As they left, Kiera screamed over her shoulder, This isn't over, Noah. You'll regret this. I raised my glass. I seriously doubt that. The restaurant went silent for about 10 seconds. Then, as if nothing happened, conversation resumed. Paige clinked her glass against mine. Well, she said, that was entertaining. She seems stable, I replied. Paige smirked. She used to hide the crazy better when she had money and status. We finished dinner in peace, tipped our server extra for the show, and went home to the house we'd bought together 6 months earlier. No drama. No exes showing up uninvited. Just two people who actually know how to treat each other, starting our lives together. Paige and I bought a house in the foothills with views so ridiculous they could make a monk rethink his vows. Seriously, stand on the deck with a coffee in the morning, and your soul briefly questions whether you even deserve oxygen. We're both crushing it professionally and personally. Last week, I'm installing a smart home system for some tech executive, because apparently it's still fun to wire someone else's mansion, and my phone rings. Number I didn't recognize, but curiosity killed exactly 0 cats, so I answered. "Noah, it's Sam," came the cheery world's most awkward voice. I had not heard from him in almost 2 years. The last I knew, through the grapevine, his HVAC business had imploded like a cheap souffle and he was working for someone else's company. "What do you want, Sam?" I asked, already tasting the stale bitterness of this conversation. "Look, I know I messed up. I know what we did was wrong," he said, voice trembling like a chihuahua in a thunderstorm. "But I'm trying to rebuild my life and I could really use some work. Thought maybe you might have some projects that need HVAC." I stared at the ceiling for a long beat. The nerve. The audacity. Betray a friend for months, crash your own business, and now you want referrals? "You're calling me for referrals?" I said, voice calm but deadly. "I'm desperate, man. The divorce cleaned me out. My business is gone. I'm living in a studio apartment and working for $18 an hour. I made mistakes, but I'm trying to do better," he sputtered. "Well, I can't help you," I said. "Noah, please. I know I messed up our friendship," he begged, and I hung up, went back to programming the lighting scenes and felt nothing. Absolutely nothing. That chapter was sealed in concrete, locked away, and thrown in the river of forgotten bad ideas. The funny thing? Kiera and Sam probably thought they were upgrading when they got together. She wanted someone more ambitious than me, and he wanted someone who understood business strategy. They convinced themselves they were more compatible, more aligned, and somehow adulting at a higher level. Turns out, both were just shallow people who confused being busy with actually achieving something and thought networking cocktails were equivalent to real progress. When the heat came and character actually mattered, they had nothing to fall back on. Nada. Sip. Just two people flailing in the shallow end of life, hoping nobody notices the water's missing. The best revenge? Not making your enemies suffer. That's amateur hour. The real win is building a life so good that their opinions don't even register. Let them stew in the consequences of their choices while I focus on a future with someone who actually deserves my time, energy, and attention. Speaking of the future, Paige and I are talking about starting our own family soon. She'd be an incredible mother, and I'm actually excited about raising kids who will understand integrity and hard work from the beginning. Love this story? Like, share, and subscribe for more epic audio adventures. Stay curious and keep listening.